growing faster than the economic, the GDP growth. And so we will then keep on producing more and more poor people, people who are below the poverty line, and one day they will overrun us.
That's a good question. I think that's a good question. Nancy, the thing is this, he who must go into equity must go into equity.
What about for those that argue that we're still a developing country and we still need money, there's no need to save, let's spend everything.
Nancy, that is voodoo economics.
Why have the refineries not worked?
You can't take responsibility for what you're not driving directly. The refineries are owned by NNPC. NNPC has to drive the shop refinery repairs.
Join Moneyline with Nancy.
Mondays to Friday,
11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Be ahead.
All right, welcome back. In case you're just joining us, it's time for our conversation right now. Professor Kiruba Shankar is joining me right here. He's the founder and president of Professional Speakers Association of India, a professor of digital marketing. He's the chief executive officer at Breath Digital. Professor Shankar, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much,
First time
Nancy.
on my show.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you. I love being here. I absolutely love Nigeria and its people and its food.
Yeah,
so
and it's
awesome.
food. I wouldn't say welcome to the country because you told me I think it was 2 days ago or so. This is your second time in Nigeria.
That is correct.
How has your impression been, and what is the perception that you took back your first visit when you visited Nigeria, and what's your perception about the country?
I mean, this is phenomenal. I absolutely believe in actually visiting countries where you see the perception completely change from what you think it to be and what the reality is. I mean, the kind of forward-thinkingness, the absolute friendliness of people, the speed in which business happens that I thought was completely different. The internet penetration out here, you know, I'm a digital guy, so I was pleasantly surprised with the kind of penetration that internet has. So it's huge potential that Nigeria has when it comes to online and digital. Yeah.
So that brings us to the issue of the day. Of course, you are here in Nigeria to discuss, to meet people, also to teach what you know. You're a professor of digital marketing.
That's correct.
Why? One would say professor of digital marketing. But I understand that we're already in the future, like I said, even at the event that day, that we're already in the future, you know. Why professor of digital marketing? What does it mean?
It means that the entire world is shifting from what we know. Back in the day, it used to be the days of radio, of newspapers and television. It still continues to be even to this day. But if you notice, Nancy, that the entire way how the youngsters are consuming these content it happens online. People feel comfortable watching Netflix and Amazon Prime. They don't have to stick to a particular time to watch a program. They do it at the time of their convenience, when they want to do it, how they want to consume. Everything happens on the small device that's now become an extension of their body. Whether it is from buying movie tickets to buying flight tickets, to paying your bills, to paying for your kids' education, for learning your courses, everything happens digital. And we are at the cusp of change. Now, if so much has changed in about just a decade, now imagine what is going to happen in the next decade. So I think it's going to completely disrupt the way how we are going to do this. And that's the reason why I think digital and online is going to become very important. I can tell you in India, and I speak at quite a few countries, I see a tangible shift that businesses are now increasingly moving towards investing in digital because that's where the audience are.
Should we be afraid of the future?
We should not. In fact, we should embrace it with all positivity because what digital really brings is digital brings greater exposure. So for example, the Moneyline with Nancy program is no longer restricted only to Nigeria, right? We can, in fact, my audience will get to watch this program in India and around the world. Now, suddenly what's happened is that you've broken the geographical boundaries. We should look to it with positivity because it also brings globalization down to your workplace. Sitting in Abuja, you can do business in Aberdeen, you can do business in New Zealand or in Japan or China, and it gives that kind of a reach. We should look this up with positivity because it really shrinks the world around, and it's a fantastic tool to build stronger relationship, closer bonding, and that results in better sales and better business. So I am absolutely positive and very, very bullish about the future.
Can we still be and stay human in this digital world? You know, can we still stay human in this digital world? Because, you know, like I also said, was it on Tuesday or so, you realize that the first thing you do when you wake up is you're grabbing your phone, except for those that are very disciplined. And I don't think I'm one of those. I'm always praying to be one of those, to be disciplined, you know, to earmark time, because the first thing you want to see what's happening and all of that. And for perhaps people like us that are information junkies, this is what I do every day, so I must be on top of my game. Can we still stay human? Are you human even as a professor of digital marketing? Or our humanness would evaporate with the revolution happen digitally?
Yeah, so there will definitely be some changes to the way how we behave. Internet, you're right that internet is like a two-edged knife. There is the positive side of internet, but unfortunately there's a negative side of the internet. And the negative side is how it becomes a little impersonal, how we actually interact with our friends more on Facebook, on Twitter and Instagram more than we interact in online space. But I feel that these are all just growth pangs that we will eventually adapt to this. Let me give you a small example. About a decade ago, when I used to be working for a corporate company, they installed a Coke vending machine, a machine where you can get your cup of Coke absolutely free, completely unlimited. And I remember we were so very excited that we would go take cups of Cokes every day. But after 2 days, you're cloyed with it. Right? You had enough. Oh, how much Coke can you drink? I think that's exactly the phase that we are in. So we have phones with us. We have access to the internet, the world's biggest library and YouTube videos, all that you can consume. But over a period of time, maturity will kick in. And you will then start to realize, you'll start to become wiser, and you will start to use internet the way how it will benefit you, and not just get enamored by it.
Now that brings me to the next question, which you've actually said. Perhaps being on social media platforms or being on the internet should actually be deliberate, and especially in a world whereby a lot of people are looking for economic empowerment, looking for money. After all, it's money line with me, so it's about money, it's about the pocket. Can people actually make money on social media, and how?
Absolutely. Overwhelming yes. That's the answer to your question, Nancy. Now, how? The biggest beneficiaries, in my opinion, are actually businessmen, brands, because it gives a fantastic opportunity for them to talk about their brands, to talk about the benefits that it brings, to understand who the target customers are, understand what is the pain points and what is it that can help, and then you can reach out to. So this is a brilliant medium to connect with our customers. And let me tell you, Nancy, that people always like to do business with people they trust, with brands they like. And using the internet, you can do the best of both. Now, the first category of people who will benefit from the internet, and because we are talking about Moneyline, that's a solid way to increase sales. The second way how individuals can make money out of social media is by multiple ways. I've known people who have become, who do YouTube programs. All they have is just a smartphone and a quiet room, and that's all the investment they have. Their reach, the kind of subscribers, is more than some of the entire viewership of some of the TV channels. It's remarkable how one individual can do that. I've known people who blog, and because of their quality of blogs and their consistency and the value they're able to provide, they're able to earn lots more from advertising. There are digital nomads, like you rightly mentioned in the program earlier. All people have is just a backpack along with a laptop. And they get to travel around the world. They can sit in a beach in Thailand, and they can work for clients from around the world. It unshackles them from the cubicles and the need to be in one particular office. So there's just so much opportunities that it brings, and especially when it comes to money, I think we are at possibly the best time right now to make money online.
You know, because this discussion is coming at a very interesting time in Nigeria. I don't know if you've been following what's been happening with us. There's this bill around social media. Oh, okay, Nigerians are talking too much, you know, peddling a lot of false news, fake news, which we know happens. You know, and once it's there, it's there. But like I said at the opening, I really don't want to focus on that because I know there are a lot of positives, and we can channel, especially young people that are in Nigeria that perhaps do not have jobs. Also in India, as it were, you have also a huge population. So it is key that we'll begin to tell people that you can actually make money on social media, which you've actually said. Now, the other question is, should you be on all social media platforms? I found out you are not on Twitter.
Yeah. So the honest answer is pick the horses for the courses, which is, where are your target audience? Where is your community hanging out? And then choose the platform that you're most comfortable with. For us in India, Twitter is not such a big thing, but Facebook is massive. It is really massive. YouTube is huge. Instagram is growing like a magic weed. So pick the platforms where your audience is and pick the platforms that you're comfortable with. And this will differ from country to country. This will differ from geography to geography. This will differ from your domain. If you're targeting CEOs and decision makers in the corporates, definitely LinkedIn is the place to be. But if you're a teeny bopper reaching out to millennials, then Instagram and Snapchat is the way to go. So to answer to your specific question, Nancy, should we be on all social media platforms? The answer is no. Don't. There is the temptation to be on all social media platforms, but you will spread yourself very thin. It is better to go inch wide and mile deep. Pick 1, 2, or the max 3 social media platforms and really put your heart and soul into it. It is not just your sheer presence on those platforms, but with how much you engage with your audience. I think that's the metric of success.
Okay, so let me ask for an advice, a personal advice. As a TV personality, as a TV show, which platforms should I be on?
So definitely YouTube, right? The reason because is that it's a very visual medium. The fact that you run your show, in fact, much before I came onto your show, Nancy, I watched many of your shows, so I knew exactly what to expect, right? So I think that's a good one. Some of the topics you actually discuss transcends even Nigeria as a country. It's very useful for a global audience. So that's why it's very useful. So definitely YouTube. Second, IGTV, Instagram TV is really growing very well amongst youngsters. So that's a good place for you to be. So you can use IGTV as a lead-in to YouTube. So you can put a synopsis of your shows, and then that way you can be exposed to a younger audience, and then lead them to YouTube where you have your bigger shows out there. Twitter is definitely, I know you're rocking it on Twitter, so because it's a news medium, it really plays to your advantage. So I think these would be the platforms I would definitely recommend.
Thank you very much for the advice. And for what you've said, I think we are practically on it. But what I think I'm going to do, and I'll tell my team, is for us to up our game for the IGTV. We're on Instagram already, but for IGTV. So thank you for your $1 million advice.
Thank you. You can just give me 20% of it.
I will, don't worry. All right, let's talk about if indeed social media is a great sales tool, a great sales medium. I chose my word, not good, great. Because in as much as we say, okay, you can make money, you can do this via social media, is it a great sales medium? Or is it just, it's bigger than what, or it's not as big as what people think?
Yeah. So the answer is yes, but I'm going to give a huge disclaimer. You need to be very, very careful. Social media is a completely different beast. It's a completely different medium. It's different from TV, newspapers, and radio. The reason is because people come to TV, newspaper, radio to consume content, but people come to social media to connect with friends. Just watch your own individual pattern of usage. We go to Facebook not to read news. We go to Facebook to see what's happening with our friends. We go to Instagram for the same reason. We go to YouTube because you want to consume content that is very relevant to your line of work or your interest. So you got to be, as a brand, we need to be extremely careful. When we are going on Facebook, respect the fact that people are there to connect with their friends and to network. And that's the reason why blatant selling will be a miserable failure online. If a brand comes and starts to put ads the same way they put ads on TV, if they start to put your print advertisements the way how they would put on a newspaper, people will not give a damn at all, quite honestly. People want authenticity, people want interaction. So the best way for brands to really make a killing, to make a dent, is by giving very useful information to their exact target audience. So being useful, being relevant, being very communicative and interactive is really the way to go for brands. And if they can get this DNA right, then it is a beautiful, powerful sales tool for them.
Okay, so let's talk about digital selling, digital marketing. Are they the same thing?
That's a great question. Digital marketing, by its very definition, Nancy, is you're focused on letting as many people know about your product or about your service. That's the role of marketing, isn't it? Get your message out in the world. Now, digital selling is markedly different because you're focused on the bottom line. The entire focus of digital selling is to convince the end customer to buy your product or your service. Digital marketing is about exposure and hoping they will sell, but digital selling is a laser sharp, targeted focus on the right customer, the right decision maker who will sign the dotted line and convince that person or that group to buy your product. So that's the major difference. It's marketing, this is selling. Now, your next question, I would assume, is what's the best practice for digital selling? How should you go about it? There are brilliant tools available. LinkedIn, like you said, Nancy, is a very powerful medium social network, professional social network. And LinkedIn gives phenomenal tools to help micro-target. So let me give you an example. Let's say there's a company that makes human resource management software, a HR software. Now, who buys this HR software? It will be the head of HR or the chief HR officer of different companies. Now, using LinkedIn, you can feed LinkedIn the list of the top 5,000 heads of HR. And then you can make your advertisement and your message go only to those 5,000 people and to nobody else. Isn't that an amazing thing to do? Where you exactly go and target who are most likely to buy, who are most likely to benefit. So those are some of the advantages that digital selling
Instead
has.
of just for everyone, and you don't know who would get it at a particular time. So it's like, it's a probability game. But this one, it's target audience you're
That's
doing
correct.
for.
That's a beautiful term you used. It's a probability game. When you put an advertisement in a newspaper, that's the equivalent of spraying and praying. You hope that this newspaper goes to a wider audience, and you hope that the right person gets to see this, and you hope that the right person takes the message and then converts and goes and buys your product. That's a long-winded game. But with digital selling, you exactly go and target the right audience, not just the right audience who have the right intent to buy. So you're going and approaching them at the time. So this is what I say. Imagine if Coca-Cola was able to identify amongst the set of people who is thirsty the most. And then only the person who's thirsty will be shown an ad of Coca-Cola so that he's enticed to go and buy. That is the level of precision of digital selling.
Where does it leave my industry? I know you're a professor of digital marketing, but where does it leave my industry, my constituency, which is TV, which is traditional media? We've talked now so much about, we're seeing a gradual shift from TV, radio, print, and the traditional media. Is there a way that those of us in the traditional media can still inculcate all those things happening right now digitally and still be relevant in the next 30, 40, 50 years?
Yeah, definitely, right? So the good news for you, right, from a TV industry perspective, the good news is what will never die, what will never go out of fashion is quality of content. Right? We've been storytellers 10,000 years ago. We still, we were interested in news and storytelling. We are still interested in news and storytelling. 10,000 years later, we will still be interested in news and storytelling. So it will, the core of it will not change, but the outside thing will change. So for example, in 30 years, the TV channels, the way how we know it, the studios may evolve to a completely different medium. But however, the essence of what people need will not change. And that's the good news. That's really, really the good news. Yeah.
So perhaps we should also think or begin to evolve innovative ways of perhaps content, and in terms of what content will drive traffic, what content do people want to listen to, and all of that. But the medium by which, the medium of transmission may change.
Yeah, exactly. So for example, just look at, in the olden days, people would send message to one person to another person using pigeons. They would type those messages, and then it evolved later to messengers where humans would go deliver, and much later, you had the telegrams and telex, and then you had SMS, and now we have emails. Now we have Zoom, where we can have live calls. So if you notice, the need to communicate with other person hasn't changed. It is still there. It hasn't changed. But the medium continues to evolve and change.
Now, with even social media, with the internet, we've seen an advent of e-commerce companies. So many of them in Nigeria coming up. A lot, I said earlier, even virtual companies coming up. You don't need to have an office space.
That's right.
And you just be making money, even legally.
Yep.
Though our government is saying, no, they're going to go after those online businesses to pay taxes and all of that. That's a different ballgame, not for you to handle. But how much revolution are we going to see around the e-commerce industry as we progress?
E-commerce will continue to grow leaps and bounds. The reason is because e-commerce brings multiple advantages, Nancy. It brings advantages of economy. Whenever you find that a product is cheaper than what you would find in the offline stores, people will naturally gravitate towards the cheaper area. And right now, many of the products on e-commerce are now cheaper because they don't have the burden of stockist and retailer and distributor, so they're able to reach much quicker to the audience, hence products are cheaper. That's the first advantage. The second advantage is also the advantage of convenience. You don't have to get out of your house, get into your car, wade through traffic, go park your car, find a parking space, pay the parking fee, go to the mall, buy, and come all the way back. At the click of a button, in a few hours or in a few days, the products reaches you. So it's completely, it's sheer convenience. And anytime when people see that, not only is it convenient, but it also saves them time. When it saves them time, then they can shift that, they can put that time to better use for what they're really good in, for example, business or spend time with the family. So there are multiple advantages. So of course, we see e-commerce growing, and it will continue to grow. In 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, you'd be amazed at how this is going to completely change. You want water, it's probably smarter for you to just buy online.
Yeah, isn't it? I like that, because even on your phone, you can operate your TV, your security systems, and all of that. Just as we round off this segment, are there specific skills one should have before you get involved on social media or even digital selling or digital marketing? Are there specific skills, or is it just a game of chance? Let me just go. All those are like, they just direct you on what to do.
No. That's like trying to go reach a destination with no map and no end goal. If you want to succeed in the online space, if you want to make money on the internet, if you want to sell better online, then there has to be a strategy. And you need two skill sets. The first one is the skill set is that of curiosity. You need to be genuinely curious, how are other companies succeeding? how are other entrepreneurs able to sell better online? Just by observing, you can learn a lot. The second one is having the penchant for learning, which is investing yourself in signing up for courses, going and attending training programs, attending conferences that is about social media and digital selling, buying books, following podcasts. It's a kind of a good way for you to imbibe. Now, the good news is you don't have to be a technically savvy person. You don't need to know any coding. All it requires is just the hunger to get better at this and the hunger to learn.
Okay. What experiences can we learn from India, especially as the fourth industrial revolution, the internet age? A lot of Indians are even working in the US in tech companies, doing well.
Yes.
Some are chief executive officers in US companies and all of that. What can we learn as the largest population in Africa, the biggest economy in Africa? We also have a budding tech industry. So what can we learn from you guys?
Yeah, so I find so much similarity between India and Nigeria. A, the population, B, the population of the internet and how fast it is going through and the growing mobile penetration that's happening. And I see a nice parallel between the both. The biggest lesson that I think you should have is I've noticed that the IT industry in India grew in spite of the government, not because of the government. The industry grew because it had the freedom, it had, they were able to, all IT companies were able to come together to form this association called NASSCOM, and they were able to really succeed. So I think government should be an enabler of technology, enabler of growth. I think that's the way it should work. I think that could be a solid lesson.
I think you've said it succinctly. We don't need to say more. It should be an enabler of growth, isn't it? What's your favorite Nigerian food?
Oh my goodness, I
Don't
can just
tell me
go
jollof
on.
rice.
No, I absolutely love egusi soup,
Oh.
ogbono.
Ogbono.
I'm a huge fan of all swallows and starch and fefe. I love puff. And it's
Puff,
just, I
okay.
mean, I could, if I had known this 20 years ago, I would have married a Nigerian girl.
Thank you very much. I can see you're having a wonderful time. And at least your hosts are doing well too. At least for you to have an idea of all those food and making you eat them. So thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you so much, Nancy.
Prof.
Such a
Thank you.
pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much. All right, I've been speaking with Professor Kiruba Shankar, the Chief Executive Officer at Breath Digital. He's a professional speaker, a professor of digital marketing, and he's also the founding president of Professional Speakers Association of India. That's the much we can take on this segment. So the remaining few minutes of today's show, let's quickly bring you the CBN Weekly segment, which I had said earlier about the MOU that was signed with the cassava producers in Nigeria. You know, the Central Bank of Nigeria has intervention going on in about 10 commodities, so you watch that out. I'll see you all again tomorrow, same time on the station. Be the best you can be the change you want to see. I am Nancy Naji. Bye now.